Dear community, thanks for joining. This is a new segment that we are introducing, which is a quarterly AMA, so that the community keeps us in check with what we say, what we proposed, what we're going to be doing. We look back at what we've done and we look forward to the future. So thank you very much. Let me introduce our guests today. We have the Partisia Council here. We have Brian, Kurt, and Peter. Also Bakyt and Bruce, welcome. Thank you for joining as well. And as I said, so the structure for this AMA is going to recap what has been happening, what has happened these past 6 months. This June is the 6th month of the year, so it's a good time to actually recap what we have done since January, and then we will continue moving forward doing this every 3 months. And yeah, what to expect what to expect in the next 3 months. So we have sent formed for the community to drop their questions. We have received a few questions that are very relevant to the future of our project, and we will be answering them. So that is after I pass the microphone over to Kurt, Peter, and Brian, where each of them will just do a quick recap, as I mentioned before, and speak about the future. So microphone over to you, Kurt.
All right. Yes. So first, looking back at the first half of 23, there's a lot of things to talk about, but I selected 3 topics, which is the tokenomics, the on-chain utility, and the expansion of the team. So for the tokenomics, that was probably one of the more critical issues we dealt with in the first part of 23. So we did basically two adjustments that was voted through by the node operators with the engagement of all of the token holders. So one was the misalignment between core token holders and the early contributors, and the other one was to ensure strong tokenomics prior to listing. So while the misalignment was pretty clear, it was a bit more tricky to find a solution, but we did find a solution, and it's been implemented. So with that, in combination with that, we did this pausing of the token. So all the unlocking is being paused like 1 week before the third unlock, which means that we are now in a situation where we can go and work with not just one but more trading venues on listing, and ensuring what kind of, or make sure that we know exactly what kind of tokenomics that we are facing at time of listing, which is super important. So we are super happy for this to be voted through with a great majority by the community. The other thing would be rewards or utility. So it's all about the creating utility, on-chain utility. So that's 2 things. One is the real basic fees where people are using the network and they pay for fees. That is the long run utility. The other part is what we call rewards, where we pay, where we have an ecosystem pool over the course of 10 years that is used to bootstrap the activities on the network. And that bootstrapping has been extended with the community staking and delegated staking, and it was fully implemented in the beginning of this year. And it's an important part. So now we have all of these tokenomics is at work to the fully extent. There will probably be, or there will be some extent adjustment on how to allocate these rewards, because this is kind of a tool that we can work on in addressing imbalances as we move towards a stable on-chain utility driven by the BYOC fees. The last part is expansion of the team. So we've been expanding the team both in marketing, communication, and community management, and all of this is pivoting around adoption. So it's all around that people and activities that help the lead funnel, where we are focusing on building a continuous and strong, stable growth of activities and projects coming into the network. So we'll probably talk more about that later on. So, but that was the looking back. should I jump directly into the you also asked me about a trend, didn't you?
Yeah, I was going to ask, yeah, exactly that. Have you noticed any trends that may have in some way influenced the or changed the direction, or in some way, you know, influenced the roadmap or the path or the strategic vision that you have for Partisia?
Yeah, that was in my notes, so I did think about something. So it's actually regulation. So but it's not the typical type of regulation you think about when you think about crypto assets, where it's all about classification of an asset class. This is about the regulation that faces all kinds of digital infrastructures. So it's topic, and it's increasing number of regulations and topics that touch on all of the basic things in an infrastructure, which is confidentiality. So we have the GDPR and similar kind of privacy preserving regulation. And it's about the integrity and transparency, where you have increasing regulation on that forcing services to make sure that we know what kind of algorithms that our data is going to be used in. And then the last one is a resilient topic. So availability is just about like the network is not going to break down. So a lot of this is kind of what blockchain is all about, but it's also about like a resilience in terms of political changes, and one country not collaborating with another country that should not impact the entire infrastructure of the health system or the finance system, the pension system, and stuff like that. So it's something very sort of fundamental stuff that is put into these regulatory packages. So I think it's a big trend, and I think we have very good answers to almost all of these trends. So that I'm looking forward to have a discussion, and we already see that some of the projects that we bring in through the lead funnel is all about how do you actually tackle these type of future regulation of the digital infrastructure. So a lot more about that also when we move forward. I think the was
any final visions for the future? The $1 million question that everyone asks.
Yeah. So I mean, I will keep it short and say that, I mean, talked about the adjusting the tokenomics, and that was really all about us being able to have a strong tokenomics and being able to work with not just one but multiple exchanges in listing the token, and we are aiming for doing that in this year. So with that, I will give it back to you, Tiago.
All right, thank you very much, Kurt. I'm very sure that the community very much appreciated that input. Yeah, let's move over to Peter. The microphone over to you.
Yeah, so when we are approaching this summer, we are actually also approaching the great roadmap goal called where we're going to launch version 4. So during this summer, we're actually going to launch version 4. It means that there's a lot of things that sort of is compiling into one big version update that we're going to ship. So a lot of the things has already been shipped in minor increments. As you know, we are shipping software each week. Each week we are presenting all the node operators with a new version of the mainnet, and sometimes it even includes some on-chain adjustments. Some of these, few of these are actually manually voted through, but all the roadmap goals are being pushed through that part. But as we are approaching this summer, a lot of the sort of bigger packages are being finalized and being put into the ecosystem and being made available. So a lot of the things that we've been doing so far this last half year has been realigning ourselves to make it even better and even easier to do adoption. So one of the biggest things that's some of the things that just come out is the bring your own coin for the Binance Smart Chain, the BNB bridge. So that has come out. That's actually the third bridge that we've built. We have Polygon, we have Binance, and we have Ethereum. So that actually makes it possible for us to triangulate, and it means that we now have sufficient information to do what we are going to call the Bring Your Own Coin framework, which is a framework that's going to allow any person who has staked MPC tokens to actually bring in new tokens on the Partisia blockchain. And that's one of the big exciting features that's going to come. It's going to provide more decentralized access to the platform and make it more easily available for regular developers that has tokens elsewhere that want to integrate. So one of the things that you should know about the bridges that the Partisia blockchain actually has is that it is backed by the entire blockchain. So it's not a bridge that's being run by 2 or 3 more or less trustworthy people. It's actually being run by the entire blockchain. So the bridge is first level citizen. The bring your own coins are first level citizens on the platform. It means we take a lot greater care in order to provide the right level of security, but it also means that once you don't have to orchestrate the nodes because the platform itself is built to orchestrate the node. So you only have to find the token that you want to onboard and have the vote to be passed. So that's one of the big features that's going to come out. There's a ton of other interesting features that's going to come out that's going to make it much easier to provide to build smart contracts and to make it more accessible. And this also points straight into the future because not everything is being done right at the same time. As I said, we're shipping software each week. It means that there's a lot of incremental updates. And I think this month or next month, we're going to launch a test framework. We're for building better smart contracts, so you can build unit tests of your smart contract, but also provide a more holistic view of the entire developer experience, and that's going to continue into the fall so that we can make it as easy as possible for the software developers, for the smart contract developers to deploy new apps on chain. This is our key goal right now. That is the thing that is important for us when we're building software for the mainnet, is that to make adoption as easy as possible. And I'm just going to fly over a few highlights of what's going to come. So one of them is the test framework. Another is that we're going to provide a better and more structured gas estimation tool. We are going to make it easier to deploy, less pricey to deploy new smart contracts. Then we're also going to work on the block producer selection, make sure that the way that we select node operators is more correctly, and also making sure that the node operators has an easier time of opting in and opting out. All of these things is actually feedback from the community, from the community that we've received within the last year, that we've made sure that is being put into the roadmap, so that you can expect that a lot of the operations that currently might be somewhat cumbersome is going to be a lot more fluent, a lot more easier to work with in the future. The overarching goal is to make it simpler to provide and build better and simpler smart contracts, and that's what we're providing right now. We have this version 4 that's going to be launched, and with that, there's going to come a number of different parts that is going to be the next version of our smart contract platform. And in the fall, we are going to provide more tooling. So that is sort of to round it up. That, as Kurt said, the biggest thing that we're working on right now is to make sure that adoption is as easy as possible. And that's what we're doing.
Thank you very much, Peter. And that kind of also touches a bit on one of the questions that we will be answering in a bit. Last but not the least, Brian, what key milestones have been achieved in this past 6 months, and what are you looking for in these next 3 months?
Thanks for the intro, Tiago. Good to be here at the community. We have had some really exciting milestones, so I'll talk about those. The one that we've already spent some time discussing and talking about was when we demoed the private voting solution at Paris Blockchain Week. Zero knowledge voting basically allows anyone to vote on a blockchain where the vote count is transparent, the outcome is transparent, but the individual's privacy is preserved inside of their single vote. So, that was a demonstration. Now it's time to get it more adoption and more use. So as Kurt mentioned earlier, we're expanding the BD team to be sort of out there proactively selling these use cases, trying to expand its adoption. And that is, the top priority of the project is adoption. Something I'm involved in that has to do with adoption on the software side is the launch of party.com. It couldn't really be going better at this stage. Am I able to share the screen, Tiago?
I believe so. I believe so. Do you see a share screen? Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
so for example, these are the Google Analytics of I just took this shot right before we started, but basically, this is our first month of launch, and we haven't spent much on marketing. It's pretty much organic. And we're seeing, just exactly the type of chart you want to see. So 8.1 thousand new users, 133,000 website events, average engagement time, almost 2 minutes. We're going to bring that up. We had some days where it was actually 8 or 9 minutes. So now that we've pushed the live streaming out, we're seeing that number increasing rapidly. But the cool thing is, blockchain and decentralized social media. I think it's important to talk about how the blockchain is actually used and why it benefits the user, and why, it's a sort of worthy use case or cause that, the industry should be pursuing. So I think there's two sort of key points, which is each time someone signs up to party.com, they are actually authenticating a Partisia wallet. So first thing first, when you log in, you use your existing social handles, and we use a sort of secure secret key sharing scheme to authenticate your wallet. So like on my screen here in the top left, you'll see the Partisia wallet. So basically we've onboarded 8.1 thousand new people who, as this platform develops, when the token starts to be freely exchangeable, tradable, transferable, we can do things to sort of encourage users to buy or use the MPC token. So this is a really good on-ramp to the Partisia blockchain. But the blockchain itself is also extremely useful in the creator economy. And so, for example, when you click into a creator's account, like the Hall of Fame pass, this is the all access pass to the platform. When you buy a user's pass, it's actually an NFT. And it's on the Partisia blockchain. And so rather than having a centralized entity controlling access rights to various users or channels and the platform engagements, it's actually an NFT on the blockchain. So if you purchase it and you own it in your wallet, you can actually see your NFTs on your Partisia wallet. So it's not just inside a platform where it's being managed by a database. So, if I go to my Partisia blockchain Chrome extension wallet, I can actually see all the NFTs I've bought in here. And then, you can move them around. So as you can imagine, that will expand where you can resell passes in the upcoming NFT marketplace. So essentially the blockchain manages user interactions as well as the payment flow. So if you're subscribing to a user's account, you're paying in cryptocurrency, and the payment rail will run on Partisia blockchain. And as we continue to grow, we will add more support so that you can use your BYOC ETH or your BYOC BNB coins, so that there's multiple payment options on platform. The marketplace itself, also, as I mentioned, the NFTs are on Partisia blockchain, so as passes can be resold, and we roll out that feature. It's just a lot of on-chain transactions. This was the sort of evolution of the original Insights Network platform of Instars, which we've rebranded and launched officially as Party on Partisia blockchain. So we hope to continue that user growth, get to 25,000 users and 100,000 in the relatively near future. So that is the update on that. Let's see. The next
Can I
topic,
ask you just a quick question?
Of course.
Would it be fair to say that party.com is going to disrupt the cancel culture?
That's part of the goal of blockchain and decentralized social media. I think governance of content on platforms is always going to be extremely tricky, because if there's zero governance and ability to sort of, let's not say ban accounts, but that's one way to phrase it. Right now, if the boardroom at YouTube decides they don't like the opinion of one of their big creators, they're doing bans. But I think blockchain and decentralized social media provides a governance opportunity where those decisions can be over time turned over to the community itself. So as you have token holders in this platform, it's still the very early days, so no one has successfully modeled this out yet or launched it. But something we're working on is to be able to turn that governance over to the community. So we have set the initial content guidelines. If you go to the homepage of Partisia.com, bottom left corner, content guidelines. So you can see sort of our first attempt at what we think are reasonable content guidelines that don't have a bias or cancel culture. So the idea is to turn it over to the community as fast as possible. There's going to be a lot of work there. If you don't do any monitoring, you're going to have crazy things being posted and it ruins the platform. And we've seen that happen with like Gab, for example, gab.com. It just became really crazy, some of the things that were getting posted because they had no monitoring or censorship. So that's one extreme. And then there's the other extreme, which is like Twitch and YouTube banning anybody who disagrees with maybe some mainstream ideologies or who, maybe speaks a personal opinion. So that is how you handle that, is I think tokenized community governance. And then it's more decentralized. It's going to be more balanced, more fair. But it is an experiment. So it's going to take some time to develop and see how it ends up going. Something else now, just a transition that I'm very excited about, is the Wallet 2.0 from the PBC Apps team. So I can give you a little sneak peek, but we're adding a lot of features. So we are now incorporating the BYOC tokens into the new wallet. So you can see it like this. You can manage your tokens and you can see what is considered a BYOC token, which is a transactional token used for paying the network fees. You can see your native MPC right here in the main frame with your gas balance, which is indicated in megabytes. It's a bit complicated, but that's just the way it works. So what we did instead is then you can see your individual BYOC token balances below. The megabytes is the total sum of how much gas you have based on those token holdings. We have better NFT visibility and viewability. This is pretty much complete. We're just going to do maybe a couple more weeks of testing before we put it out. But yes, exciting. And it's also built in a way that it can be converted into a mobile app, relatively straightforward. So we still need to do some internal discussion on, when or if or, what we want to do with the mobile wallet that could go into the iPhone and Android stores. But yeah, this is another exciting product update. And I think for me, that was sort of the points I wanted to highlight. Maybe Tiago, any other questions?
Will there be a dark mode? I'm a dark mode aficionado.
There's a design. Yeah, there's a design for it. Version 1 will just be the light mode.
All right. I was just kidding anyway. No, thank you very much for this update. I believe this concludes each individual contribution to these past 6 months and the vision for the near future. Now is the time where we move over to the community's questions. And so let me just pull up my list here. Okay, so the first question is directed to you, Brian. And it says, the lack of developer activity and Web3 community interest in Partisia Blockchain a year after its mainnet launch is a concerning issue to the community. What is Partisia Blockchain team's current strategy to generate hype and attract enterprises and Web3 developers to build on Partisia Blockchain?
So some of the immediate action we've already taken is staffing out a larger BD team, bringing on some new talent. And some great people have already joined, and there's several more candidates in the pipeline. The reason we need to do that is not just so that we can get started building out more leads, but actually to start bringing in the over 40 active leads that we currently have. So there's actually a large pipeline of leads. We're bringing in more support so that those integrations can go off effectively and be seen to completion throughout onboarding. they're very quality projects as well. So the 40 active leads are actually just specifically in the Web3 space. But there's an additional 35 active leads that we're pursuing in the enterprise space. So it's a pretty nice 50-50 balance of enterprise leads as well as Web3 leads. It's an all hands effort. So literally everyone on the organization is participating in sort of, either one or multiple facets of the onboarding funnel. Kurt himself is out there bringing in leads. Peter is chatting with all the different teams. Bruce, even Bakyt, if he's at a conference, might meet a team and bring him over, even though it's not necessarily his, full-time dedicated focus. So all hands effort, and pretty good lead pipeline that is continuing to get bigger. And with this new team that we're onboarding and continuing to staff out, I think we're going to be seeing some great results soon. The blockchain ads just deployed their first testnet smart contracts that are a cookie that allows you to sort of monetize your own website browsing histories and datas, which is all about that sort of decentralized self-owned internet economy vision that the project was started to solve. And with the social media platforms like Party, where you're having more blockchain controlled access in and out of subscription modeling and content, we're starting to see the usage and development that we've put all this effort into to come out and get some real world use.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Next question, I believe, is for Kurt. Yep, it's for Kurt. And it says, the BYOC bridges, such as ETH, USDC, and BNB, are used for gas, but not MPC. But not MPC seems redundant. I understand the feature of interoperability in Partisia Blockchain, that you do not have your own MPC tokens to interact with the Partisia blockchain, but why insist on that as a significant selling point? Why not have both MPC and BYOC as gas option? There are more pros than cons with MPC as the primary gas option, followed by BYOC. For example, what happens if someone develops a dApp natively in MPC? By making MPC the primary and preferred token in the ecosystem, the Partisia blockchain team can instantly provide another major utility use case for the MPC token, drive more demand and buying pressure in the market, and encourage developers to use and engage with MPC instead of BYOC. If the team aims to achieve a top 100 ranking in the CoinMarketCap, it is essential to promote MPC as the dominant token, similar to successful L1 projects. Presenting BYOC as a secondary option that Partisia blockchain can support makes more sense, with MPC token being positioned as a leading token in the ecosystem.
That was a long question. So it's basically, it goes back to the very design of the network and also the regulation around the classification of the tokens. So it's not necessarily an easy question, or there is actually an easy answer. There's actually an easy answer to this. But I just want to start with the BYOC, because that was kind of designed to, or it is designed to facilitate collaboration and to bring in the most, to extend the network into other networks and do that by taking in the most important things that exist on other network, which is the assets that is then used as payment for the network. So in that sense, we align ourselves as if we were actually a layer 2. So that was a design choice. Part of the regulation is that it simply prevent us, the layer 1, the Partisia blockchain, to use the MPC as a means of payment or as gas. So it would be another round with the regulators to open up for that for us. I mean, the MPC token as such is open for it's will be freely tradable. So that opens up for, I don't know what kind of opportunities, but on the main net, what we are building, we are extending the use of the MPC into a number of other features where you can stake for different services. You can there's a new feature called Icebox where you have contracts sitting there and staying alive in the long run with stakes. You can imagine other services in the future providing more infrastructure services that is backed by the MPC tokens, etc. So that will be a number of utilities that is coming from the mainnet team that will support the utility. So I think that's kind of answering the question. The utility comes from the staking, the basic staking. It's kind of a access path to the network. So whatever utility that is created is coming through the is captured to some extent by the MPC tokens.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I interrupt you, Kurt?
No, that's fine. No, I don't think I want to say anymore.
All right, thank you very much. And the next question goes to Peter. And it says, is there a time frame? So this question is about staking UX and node operation considerations. Is there a time frame for bringing BYOC rewards to delegators as well? Is there a plan in place to make the staking experience more user-friendly, for example, easier to use? If so, in what ways do you think it can be improved, and what are things currently being worked on? Node operators have been running nodes for some time now and incurring in expenses, in some cases considerable. The white paper describes node experience, as in the total number of blocks produced, as a possible factor in the scoring for ZK and I believe oracles as well. Does this mean over a certain period, say, for example, 3 months, or total duration since, sorry, the question is, does this mean over a certain period, such as 3 months, or total duration since Genesis? And the second question, are you considering a way to compensate node operators for the long duration that they have been running nodes? If so, what ways are being considered? Sorry, Peter, you are in mute.
Easier to answer the question like that. There's a lot of topics going on here. So I'll try to start from the beginning with the reward scheme that we've introduced. And the reward scheme is currently being computed as a way how many blocks that you have produced, and I do believe it is within each week. And the reason for it being 1 week is that the node operators that are staking and unstaking, they are doing it. They can unstake, and there's a delay of 1 week. So that's why we sort of chose 1 week as the metric for measuring whether or not node operator or the performance of the specific node operator has been. So that is how it's being computed right now. Now, the reward structure is designed to actually grow with the network and grow with the number of nodes. In the coming years, you've probably seen the graph that Kurt has presented previously, where you see a graph where the rewards actually increases over time. This is where we actually try to accommodate the growth in the network. So in due time, in a couple of years or so, a lot of the input and a lot of the income should be in bring your own coin fees. And the reward scheme that we have right now and the sharing of rewards that we have between bring your own coin fees and the rewards is currently in a version 1, so to speak. And we're listening to the community, and one of the things that we're looking at is to make sure that the node operators are incentivized to have people staking on their behalf. So this is what we are currently doing. When you're changing the economic structure of the network, you have to be careful. You have to be careful that you're not introducing security risks. So that we are currently reviewing it, and it will be proposed for an update, an on-chain update later this year, I believe. And now, of course, at some point, the bring your own coin rewards, bring your own coin fees needs also to be distributed back to the stakers. And this will also be accommodated into the staking sharing mechanisms and be proposed for an update. However, this is slightly later than the next update, which is going to be to share the staking rewards with both the node operators and the stakers.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter. The next question goes to Brian. Can Partisia Blockchain help node operators cover some of their costs over over and above the reward distribution, the rewards would need to be in a way that we can monetize immediately and not have to wait for listing to be able to keep our nodes running.
Yeah, so the short answer here, Tiago, we've spent a lot of time going back and, looking at the model that we've been using for the, staking node reward schemes, and we've been developing a solution to get more current. Things change over time. So I think there's going to be a separate sort of discussion, or I guess AMA maybe might be the right word for it, to kind of cover that topic. So for now, just I guess good enough to know that it's in development, and we have the updated solution coming soon.
Awesome. Great news for node operators. Kurt, what are the different types of revenue streams of Partisia Blockchain Foundation? In particular, if the foundation collaborates with, say, a government body or other private organizations, how will the revenue be collected? Will that be in MPC or any other currency? And if it is in another currency, how will those funds be utilized?
All right. Yes, let me try to answer this. So the Partisia Blockchain goes back to the governance of all of this. So the Partisia Blockchain Foundation is an independent organization with a locked purpose of building and bringing this software that is a network to the community. We're not running the network. We're actually having complete arm's length to operating the network. We can, as a foundation, we can run consultancy. We are actually helping people and organizations building, and we're being paid from time to time to help with consultancy work. So that is an example of a revenue stream to the foundation. Otherwise, the main income is the investment in this. So that is or the proceed from the sale of the token that goes into building the network and launching that network to the greater community. So there might be other ways to extend or create new revenue stream as we move forward. We will explore that when the opportunity arises. So for now, I think that's probably the answer to this.
Thank you very much, Kurt. And our final question is for Peter. And it asks, while the function of ranking wallet accounts per token sorry, let me repeat that. For transparency purposes, when will the feature ranking of wallet accounts per token holdings be implemented on a dashboard like you see in other blockchains? And once again, you are in mute, Peter.
Great question. So the function of ranking each token holder is not necessarily, it is not on the current roadmap. So what we are implementing right now is the browser, where we are implementing a lot of indexing and sorting and filtering. That means that you probably at the end might be able to see it. However, this is sort of a very specific feature. So the browser will serve as a reference implementation for you to be able to understand how things can be built. And we expect it to be feature complete after the summer break. So this means that now we can, after that, how do you put it? After that point, we can actually start considering including different features, including different topics after the summer break. So we'll, of course, include this into it. I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to be part of it, but I'm just saying we will be including this in our prioritization. However, there might be a different opportunity here, because it might be actually be possible for someone on the community to build it. So this is, we don't necessarily have to build everything ourselves. It would be interesting if people, if some of the listeners here today would be interested in helping us doing these things, because we don't necessarily want to build everything ourselves. If any, we'll be happy to provide any type of assistance for a person that might be interested in building such a feature. So we'll be happy to participate in any type of process around this, and we'll take this into our prioritization later this year.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. That concludes the questions that we collected from the community, and really good questions. This opens quite hopefully will open more debate and more relevant questions for the next quarterly event. And now we will move on to the live questions that we collected during this AMA. So let me just alt tab here. Okay, so question number one, and I suggest Peter answer this one. How can the process of making proposals and voting on them be improved so that it includes the whole community and not just the node operators? Great question.
Yeah. So yes, it is a great question. Great question. So this is one of the questions that I'll have to point back to the fact that the voting mechanism that we have right now is a version 1. So we had to protect ourselves from voting software updates onto the blockchain that the node operators were not able to run. So if they were on a very old version of the software, we might be ending up in a scenario where our blockchain would fork. So that would be the worst case scenario. So this is what the mechanisms, it's defensive thought to be to protect ourselves against forking. However, there is a possibility to change the voting mechanism, and this is we've received some feedback where we kind of wanted to separate the types of votes, such that the things that it's important that the node operators only vote on is being voted on by the node operators, but maybe we can choose to have some of the on-chain changes actually be conducted directly by the community. And we really want to engage with the community, so have direct votes on that. It does, however, raise some flags because the node operators are known and they are contactable or reachable to some extent. The community might be harder to actually invigorate, so we need to find a different way of engaging with them and also different thresholds. So that's still in design and we're still talking about it. We'll look deeper into it after the summer break.
All right, thank you very much. And yeah, the second question is also likely for you, but in any case, if anyone would like to jump ahead and answer, please feel free. But I think Peter would be the right person to answer this one. And it asks, in a recent Messari report comparing ETH and Sol, transaction speed and cost of transactions were clearly factors likely to impact mass adoption. Are there any realistic projections available for Partisia for transactions per second and cost of transactions? Reference to sharding is too general. What does this translate to, and how scalable will a project be in practice?
It's a hard question without being somewhat theoretical. So I'll address some theoretical aspects of it. But I accept the fact that referring to sharding is not enough. So I'll try to wiggle my way around it. Now, looking at the way that our blockchain runs, I think the theoretical maximum per shard is in the vicinity of 1,000 transactions per shard. That is sort of a back of the envelope calculation based on some of the experiments that we've done. So 1,000 transactions per second. I mean, we're not going to reach per shard 100,000 transactions per second. So that was actually the problem. That's why we designed the sharding mechanisms that we did, because we really wanted to have our sharding mechanism to be able to scale to a point where we could have 1 billion accounts doing 5 billion transactions per day. That is the design goal. So that sort of gives you a ballpark area of what we are intending the platform to be able to do. Of course, there's be a number of loops and hoops and ladders that we have to crawl up on and stuff that needs to be done during the way. However, there's a different part. This is the software. So with the software, we can to some extent at least improve and control. However, the other part is the node operator. So the network is going to be as bad as the if you I don't know there. If you take all the node operators and rank them by performance, then the lower third is going to define the capacity of the network. So we are going to work with the node operators. We are going to work with the network and work with how the nodes are running and how they are distributed. And if we are going to reach the point where we can have 1 billion account doing 10 billion transactions per day, then we are going to have to work a lot with these node operators. We have to spend a lot of time making sure that these machines are scaling and it's not the same machine, but they're scaled on different machines. It's going to be a lot of fun, interesting, but complicated work in the future. So asking the question, what do I see? I do see a future where we can have a lot of transactions. I do see a future where the sharding will support a number of nodes and 100,000 transactions per minute. That's not going to be a problem. I do, however, want to stress the point that that if you set the price of a transaction too low, it might actually make it possible, very cheap to DDoS the network. So that's why we sort of said that 1 cent per transaction should be the right place. It's not necessarily the right place we want to do. We also want to do microtransactions, and this is also a thing that we're looking into. But we have to be aware of the fact that there's a number of levers in order to adjust it. Right now, we're not looking at a billion accounts doing a transaction per day. So right now we have smaller problems. It's not, of course we're also looking into it. But that's sort of the slightly theoretical ballpark area of the software that we've built and the software that we've designed.
Impressive numbers, none the least. Next question goes to Bruce. Last year's hackathon found some great project ideas wanting to build on Partisia. When will there be an upcoming hackathon to find more projects?
Yeah, so thanks for that question. And I'm really happy about this question because I also agree, our December hackathon did find a lot of success. And to, what Brian alluded to earlier, we also see that our chain attracts very strong projects. So I'm really also happy to report that all the winners of the hackathon, as well as the teams that we've onboarded since then, have been progressing very strongly. No one has dropped out. Everyone is right on schedule for their delivery, and all of their ideas are solid business ideas. So thanks for that question. I definitely agree the hackathon was a success. We are planning for a hackathon this year. It's not announced, but it is in discussion, perhaps in the third quarter, perhaps in the fourth quarter. So we are planning for a hackathon. And on top of that, we are also planning for layering on top some other events such as Learn and Earn, maybe some sort of a bounty program. So please be on the lookout for our next announcement.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much, Bruce. And we are now at the final question, and it goes to Kurt. Also a very interesting question and a very nice one to finish, I think. Where do you expect Partisia blockchain to be in 5 years? Industrial MPC for enterprise, embedded global MPC frameworks, fundamental to real world asset tokenization, MPC infrastructure as a service, MPC alliance? How do you see it?
Yeah, that's a good question. But I think we actually have a strong vision. A strong vision for where we want to go. So we are. It's all about now. We're working on using the BYOC to bridge into other networks, and that extending the outreach. And then it's about getting hands on getting in touch with the individual users of the entire blockchain or Web3 and connecting the wallets to the private data. And at that point where you have the people's data, where you can activate them in control of the users, then you can put this network to use. And the network is this distributed computer that can compute, that can bring these data into the internet economy and completely disrupt how you do the internet economy. So you can do the matching, whether that matching is just an advertising match, where you can be in control and you can sell your own data subject again and again and again, or it's a doctor-patient matching, or it's a financial credit risking, whatever it is. I mean, all of these features that goes into the next version of the internet, or maybe already out there. This is where the users become in control of their data. And that's really what this network is designed for. And I truly believe that this is I'm sure this is what the network can do, and I also believe that this is what people would realize, because the value of capturing this kind of opportunities is just tremendous. So that would be my 5-year projection, in short.
Let's hold you to those words.
Yeah.
All right, this concludes the live questions that we collected, and almost at the top of the hour, we are just about to finalize this AMA. Anyone have any final words? Now is the time.
From the team, you mean, or from the audience?
No, from the team. Sorry,
From the team. Yeah. Some final words is just, thanks everyone for tuning in and sticking around with us. As we mentioned, with the 40 Web3 leads and the 35 enterprise leads, we've got our hands full over here, and we're busy and very focused. So appreciate the support. We always can use it and need it. So with all that, thanks from me.
I agree. Thank you.
All right, and as your host, now it's my time to thank you all for joining this quarterly AMA. Thank you all to all the participants with all your questions. It's really, really nice to see that the questions are maturing at the same pace as the team is maturing and as the protocol is maturing. So that reveals quite a lot about how the state of the community actually is. We are all internally and externally incredibly excited about the next 3 to 6 months and what's going to happen. So thank you all for participating, and I hope to see you all again in the next in the end of the next quarter.
And Tiago, just before you totally wrapped up, I also wanted to say, there's a ton of people on the team that aren't here on the call, and they're going hard day in and day out, and so appreciate them so much, as well as everyone here on the call. So I didn't want to interrupt you. I wanted to make sure they got the acknowledgement before we part, because it's a huge team, and they're moving mountains. So appreciate everyone.
Absolutely. So thank you all, and see you next quarter.
See you.
Cheers.
Hi guys.